this blue light coming into, connecting to her, and it's ETs. And she's going, oh my God. And they say, do not be afraid. We're always with you. You will be protected. You know, I was at their home and was teaching them all this. I'm teaching Dorothy and their grandchild to go out and do CE5 on the ocean. And they were doing it, and craft would appear on the cloud and disappear. I tell people that if you get into a higher state of consciousness, every city you need will be available to you when it's urgent. So you don't have to waste a lot of time unless it's something you need to learn to do, like being able to see, remote view, and communicate with the ETs. The whole CE5 contact protocol is, in fact, a very advanced city. Remember, all interstellar civilizations have to be transdimensional, because you can't stay solid matter and going through faster than the speed of light. They are, by definition, transdimensional. So they're traversing these dimensions. They have that ability. So they can literally manifest objects, and their manufacturing, like I mentioned earlier, is using this level of these other dimensions and energy and bringing it into full 3D materialization. Now, that's a science, though. I mean, you're talking about creating a sort of resonant frequency technologically. It's very subtle. That's in the form of, say, an architectural, the whole schematic, very holographically. And then it goes from that state in the near astral, the gap I described, into boom, it's solid right here. That's why when you see the light from these objects, it's not like light here, because all the minerals and elements and the whole structure are of such purity that even in the vacuum of space, we could not manufacture that. So I have a new top secret person coming forward that's been analyzing part of a craft that crashed in 46, 47 in Brazil. And interestingly, that metallurgy, you know, he was talking to me about, and I started describing, he says, yes, that's exactly how it has to be done. Because he was doing all the research for it, for some folks that are shadowy, but I'm getting all those files and handing them over. Yeah. Oh, yes. He's cooperating, the cooperating witness. They might as well cooperate, or will we hit them with a subpoena? You want to play nice? Not nice. Let's be nice. Okay, so that's really cool. Now, then you get into this thing of bilocation, trilocation, what have you. You've heard of this, where an enlightened master will be one place and then be seen another place, and the people have seen them physically. Now, how is that? Well, this is like the same thing with the spooky effect, but where it's not a quick movement. You keep that standing wave here, and you replicate it. Why? Because we're thinking linearly. In reality, that point in space and this point in space, you can have it appear simultaneously, but you can do 3 or 4 or 5. Right? Now, you can do that innately in the meditative state when you begin to practice cities and they start unfolding if you need to. I tell people that if you get into a higher state of consciousness, every city you need will be available to you when it's urgent. So you don't have to waste a lot of time unless it's something you need to learn to do, like being able to see, remote view, and communicate with the ETs. The whole CE5 contact protocol is, in fact, a very advanced city. Just look at it that way. That we've sort of made into a system that millions of people are now doing. Now, this gets into this question of, are some of these craft the same craft over and over again? Yes. I'll tell you really, I like illustrating these abstract ideas with an example. So there was an actor and singer who was on my executive committee back in the 90s named Burl Ives. He had been on, with Elizabeth Taylor movies, and singer, and really nice guy. And I would go to he had moved out of the LA, Santa Barbara, and Montecito up to Anacortes, Washington. So I'd be at his house and sitting with him, and we got to know each other really well. And wonderful, sweet man, but he wasn't in good health by the time I met him. But his wife, Dorothy, was amazing. And so, I was at their home and was teaching them all this. I'm teaching Dorothy and their grandchild to go out and do CE5 on the ocean. And they were doing it, and craft would appear on the cloud and disappear. I'm also the guy who, because he was so close to Marilyn Monroe, and he wanted to know how Marilyn Monroe died. So I gave her the document where it's a transcript the day before they found her dead, that, you know, they wet worked her and killed her because she was going to hold a press conference to tell the world about what Jack Kennedy told her during Pillow Talk about the ET issue. So I have that document. It's top secret, has not been declassified, and I published it. It's in my book. Nobody's read it. Anyway. I'm fascinated by humans this way. Okay, but so you put everything tied up in a bow on a silver platter and they go, huh? I know. I'm a tough professor. Anyway, that led to her beginning to do this on their own. So I go back, I get this call, and you have to remember, was it 94, the Northridge earthquake in LA? Okay, so she's up in Anacortes, Washington. She comes downstairs very early in the morning, and there's an ET craft, blue, circular, outside over her driveway, and where there's a courtyard, and this blue light coming into her, connecting to her, and it's ETs. And she's going, oh my God. And they say, do not be afraid. We are always with you. You will be protected. She is told intuitively, call, I forget her name. It was her best friend who lived in LA. She picks up the phone, calls her, and the woman goes, Dorothy, you wouldn't believe what's going on. There's a blue craft outside with a beam coming in saying, do not be afraid. We are always with you. You will be protected during this earth change thing, right? An earthquake. And I'm going, well, there's a lesson in that. If you go forward in the future and the earth begins to have instability, everybody doing CE5, there's a reason why I need millions of people knowing how to do it. The future of the planet counts on it. But she asked me, was that the same ship in two places? I said, absolutely. It was the same craft at the same instant, just like the spooky effect, but in two places. So that's really cool. All right. So that's another manifestation of all this. And then you have the stories of people who can remotely heal through prayer, meditative, different abilities and consciousness. What's beautiful is that the medical technology of the ETs, it's using these transdimensional fields to heal and do amazingly beautiful events at our trainings. We don't have time to go into it, but there's a young woman, the most wonderful, brilliant, sweet, spiritual person who since age 17 has had metastatic bone cancer and is now 24, and it's going everywhere. And so she came to the training a few days ago up in Oracle, and we asked the ETs to come in, and I looked over by her and I saw this little guy, but not 3D, but sort of like a holographic, subtle energy. And I said, well, there's an ET right by you. She went into a state with one of our other team members assisting, where she was taken on a craft in her spirit body, and they did all this work and were clearing the cancer and her neck was completely frozen. She couldn't move it because the cancer had gotten into all the bones of the vertebra, and it was just all grown in there. She got back from this experience, I guess it was a half hour or something, and she's moving her. I've been she's totally fine with that. And so they're trying to work on her. So we had that just happen a few days ago. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, go back. I just got emotional. I love this girl. So, think about this. Now, I was in a underground facility on the border of Mexico and El Paso years ago. And very funny story how that happened. I was being invited by a group of scientists working on some of these kind of technologies to come see what they had. And they were medical. I'm a doctor. And so I go there, I'm going through Houston airport, and there was this guy following me around with a beard and all this, and he kept following me, went to the bathroom. I said, what kind of perv, what are you doing? And and finally he comes up to me and he says, Dr. Greer, I'm Billy F. Gibbons. I said, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. He said, ZZ Top. He was the lead guy for ZZ Top. She's got those legs, that whole thing. And with the beard and all this. I said, oh, cool. He says, I have a seat in first class for you on this flight to El Paso if you'll let me go into this skip, this place. And I said, how do you know about this? She says, well, I'm friends with those scientists. And they really are into my music and da-da-da. I said, oh, well, cool. I said, well, if it's okay with them, it's okay with me. We're going into their turf, not mine. So we had this great conversation. We go in there and they have these technologies where someone with a spinal cord severed, they can put a resonant field around it, transdimensional, regrow it. You have a missing limb, they can attach to you just have phantom pain. The astral body, that subtle, is still there. And they could connect to it and regrow the limb. No, this is for real. And I'm going, oh my God, and the stuff I have to do in the emergency department with people with brains coming out of their noses. But, it's kind of like Star Trek where you put something over something. So, those are extant on the planet now, but they're classified. Why? The physics behind how those operate lead to everything else. And then you end oil and coal and the petrodollar and all public utilities, and half the Fortune 500 companies' capitalization goes to zero. All right? It's tragic. This power thing locked into the 1800s paradigm is literally killing people, literally, and the planet. This is why we have to have disclosure like yesterday, okay? So, putting that in your mind for a moment, now let's consider what are the consequences of that. Before I go to this next slide, if you're a civilization that is advancing through these levels of consciousness, and remember it happens pretty quickly. Once you're no longer scrubbing around, we're still fighting in the Middle East, though, I lived in Israel 3 years. In the Wat, there's nothing there. People are killing each other, blowing each other up. What's there? It's nothing. It's like out here in the desert. There's nothing there. Murdering each other like you can't see over ideology, religion, this square piece of earth here, this ideology there. But once we get that sorted out, and you bring out the technologies in a state of peace where you can have no poverty and disease, what will people turn their attention to? Well, there'll be certain people who just play more video games and watch kitty cats on YouTube play the piano. But a critical mass of people, large number, will then be turning to the development of consciousness and creative pursuits. Because the work week will go down 10 to 15 hours, everyone will have abundance, then what do? So this whole creative aspect will kick in. No one's going to be racing around trying to be the big monkey to get more money from here and here, because who cares? You have what you need. So at that point, a civilization advances very quickly because they're freed up from the animal aspect of trying to grab stuff, and the whole consciousness shifts to abundance. You have what you need. So then, now what? You're alive, you're in a 3D form with the body, and so you begin to really explore and have the time to explore consciousness, the cities, spiritual states, beautiful technologies, and all of those applied peacefully, because you become a level 1 civilization.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.